She's finally back.
Oh man.
This is the face of someone who was looking at probably the coolest and most unique build they've ever done.
After like 8 months, a year, I don't even know how long it's been. I have lost count, it's been so long. The 1965 RB26 Tokyo Drift inspired Mustang is back from paint.
Oh my God.
Oh!
Look how good the engine bay looks.
Damn.
I'm so excited for this
Blown
car.
away.
Wow. I mean, come on. Look at this thing.
Wow.
If you're not familiar with this car, I built it about 2 or 3 years ago in partnership with Rad Industries. The idea was to put an RB26 and throw it inside of an old Mustang. We went with a 65 fastback rather than a 67 fastback. We also added a roadster stop chassis underneath the Mustang to give it a much more modernized feel. In the last video you saw with this, I asked what color combo to do, and this is what you guys voted for. We have the cream and Porsche Irish green stripes. SOS has not only repainted the whole entire car, but we really did a full restoration. Now I'll go through this front to back with you guys today, but we pretty much replaced every single panel on the car because when we got it, it was already someone else's resto mod. And a lot of the work was done, let's just say not the best. And we really wanted to redo the whole entire car. So you'll look at the inside and you'll notice there's nothing in it. That's because we have been working with SOS on doing a full custom interior, all leather, some special things that are gonna be following along on the inside. So there's no interior right now. But all the exterior paint work and body work as done. They shot the inside of the trunk in wrinkle black, still have the tape. This paint literally got laid down days ago, and it's going to be our job to install the whole entire RB26 drivetrain and get it running and driving within 72 hours to then give back to SOS because we are T-minus 13 days from this car being at SEMA completed.
They did it in the movie, so we can do it in real life.
So once we get the thing running and driving again in 3 days, it's gonna go back to SOS, and then we're gonna work on building out the interior together. While we're doing this, they are stitching and doing all the leather work. Now this thing came out so good, it looks so much better than what it really was. The bay is cream and is arguably a not good idea because it's going to get so incredibly dirty. There is a little bit of overspray throughout the engine bay, but we're actually gonna be shooting another coat of clear with this car once we give it back to them in 3 days. So it's not 100% perfect yet, but we're working with what we got, and that's the SEMA crunch. Nothing is ideal, nothing is usually perfect, and as much time as you give yourself to try to plan stuff out, it doesn't ever really happen that way. So we're going to work today on installing the engine, getting the drivetrain in, putting the ECU back together, putting the wiring harness back together, putting the fuel cell back together, putting the intercooler back together, and making sure it all works and drives again. The good thing about this is it's really not that much stuff. Although this is a motor swap, we really treated it as one of our race cars where it's all pretty much bare components and there's no accessory things with this. There's no AC, things of that nature. It's literally an intercooler, charge piping, exhaust, catch cans, coolant lines, radiator, shroud, and that's it. And when we disassembled it, we left the engine with the transmission on. This has been sitting out for over a year, and the RB26 has quite the integrative cooling setup, and we left this part together, which was a very complicated mess that we don't need to do. So I suspect that we can actually get this back up running and driving fairly quickly. I also have Mark here. Now, really interesting, Mark was actually the person who had the most hands on this car because if you guys remember, all of the fabrication and chassis installation of this car was done at Rad Industries 2 or 3 years ago, and Mark was the one who did pretty much everything. So I thought, what better than to have someone who knows this car better than any of us to put this back together as quickly as possible. So shout out to Mark for being here today, and we're gonna have Calvin, and we're gonna have Dylan, and we're gonna put all this stuff back. If you don't remember, this has a Roadster Shop chassis, so it's a much more modern chassis. We have huge big brakes on here, 6-piston fronts, 4-piston rears, and a 500 horsepower RB26. Lots of talking, glad to got you guys caught up. Now let's put together this car.
So as I said, this car is coming straight from SOS. And before we put the engine in, we want to take off the bumper and anything surrounding it, because the last thing we want to do is damage any of the paint before SEMA. And there was a lot of leftover tape and paper covering all the necessary components in the engine bay, like the power steering and brake lines and all that type of stuff.
Typically, we do not do this, but we're putting all of the stuff in the front room because we don't want any fresh paint to touch anything, because it's gonna get messed up, all right?
This car has been running E85, and the fuel filter and some of the lines have just been sitting for over a year. So before we even put anything back, we're gonna take the necessary steps to clean as much fueling components as necessary to prevent any clogging or notice any damage.
Since we cleaned the fuel filter, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the fuel rail and the injectors. Ian pointed out that during its stay on that tire over there, that it's been there for about a year. He had experience with injectors from another car sitting for a month. This is E85, I think that's what we ran it on previously. When E85 goes bad, it can clog the injector, so hopefully it didn't do that. Mark did point out that they didn't open up, so I don't think it got across. Due diligence, we're gonna clean it up. I'm gonna take this off, do all that. Can't see it very well, but inside here are like some crusty boys. It's a bit crusty in there. I think that's evidence that the 85 did go bad. Mark is nodding his head, so it did crust over like Dylan's underpants whenever he needs to shit. Ooh, look at that. Crusty boy, that's bad. So hopefully us cleaning that out, cleaning it out will fix it.
In the trunk is where we had the iridium fuel cell, and everything's taped off. So we're gonna have to peel all this stuff back. Woo! The SEMA crunch is real, and you wanna know how I deal with the SEMA stress? It's by playing Underdog. It's by using their pick'em entries to try to win some cash money while watching NFL and NBA games and NHL games and golf, any other type of sport that you can watch. And today's video sponsor just so happens to be Underdog. Underdog is easy. All you have to do is pick a player and their projection, and you have to decide if they're gonna go higher or lower than said predicted stat. If you're right, you'll win some money. Last week, I gave you guys my predictions for the NFL week, and if you followed me into those bets, we got 2 out of 3, which means we made just a little bit of money. But this week, it's all about the NBA. So here are this week's picks for the NBA opening week. We got Lakers versus Timberwolves. I have Anthony Edwards going lower than 28 points, Anthony Davis lower than 25 points, but LeBron James higher than 24.5 points. I'm going on a flex, which means you can go 2 for 3 rather than going for 3 for 3. I'm not advising you to follow me for legal reasons, but if you want to be on the same playing field as me, that's what I'm going with. And because it is NBA opening week, there is a 20% profit booster for free. And the great thing is Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California and Texas. And if you guys use promo code HUNT, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick. Go ahead, click the links down below and use the promo code HUNT. And boys, follow me into the victory because I make spicy picks that might potentially win you 1,000x money. Thank you, Underdog, for sponsoring today's video. And now let's get back to the SEMA deadlines. All right, before we put the radium cell back in the car, we actually left probably a few gallons of E in this tank. Before putting it back in, we want to drain it just to eliminate any bad fuel getting throughout the system or causing any potential problems. So we're gonna hook one of our batteries up, wire it through, and just send power through the pump and drain it. You wanna give it a shot, see if this, oh, yep. Oh, dude, that's a stream, check it out. Cool. Old pump E out of the tank so we can fill it up with Sunoco E85R later. All right, now that the radium cell is back in the car, I'm going to assume that our engine mounts are done drying. So we're going to install the engine mounts and now put in the engine and transmission. This is when it starts to get really fun. All right, time to do what I've been waiting to do for 8 months. Put the engine back in the car, the red RB26 in the white engine bay. That right there is the face of a stressed man. Have you ever seen a gorilla stressed out? I'm like the baby. Or I could be the, no, I'm not the mom, I'm the baby.
Car, good, engine, car. TJ strong.
We're probably gonna need a couple hands to put this in.
Turn the camera off. Oh.
So we ran into a little bit of an issue here. When we dropped this off at SOS and we had him do all the paintwork and stuff, when it came to the engine bay, I told him to just fill all of the random holes that are in the engine bay. Because prior to this car's life having an RB in it, there was a bunch of like excess holes everywhere. He filled everything. And even the parts where I was like, I didn't think I needed to say, like the charge piping holes and little mounting holes for all of our reservoirs. Long story short, he filled everything. So we're gonna have to drill new holes on fresh paint and be as careful as physically possible. But the engine looks so good in this car, and we have the car up a little bit so you can't really see it, but with the green stripes and the cream and the red RB, this thing is finally hitting the life that it deserves. I mean, it looks so good. I'm gonna start wiping down our radiators, our intercoolers. Sorry, we have Vargas out here cutting. All right, so Mark and I were just going to bleed the clutch on this car, and we're bleeding it. I'm like, dude, this clutch feels so heavy. It's so weird. I don't know what's going on. And after like a few minutes of it, I looked down underneath the trans tunnel, and you guys see that watermark there and all that there? That's all brake fluid. There's the clutch line runs right in the middle of the screen and goes down to the slave, and I don't know, apparently they must have nicked it or done something, because when we were watching that line started to bleed the clutch, it's just like puking out of the line. So not sure what happened. It's definitely gonna delay us getting this done, because now we have to go get a line made, which isn't a hard thing, but asking someone to do it like right then and there is definitely not the easiest thing in the world. So we were able to shift the car out of neutral because we lost our shifter as well. So we used a extension and like bumped it into neutral. The reason why that's good news is because now I think we can go to start the car. So we're gonna attempt a first start. We have fluid in the car. All of our grounds seem to be where they need to be. We have oil in the car. Yeah, hook up the battery. Yeah, that's a good sign. All right, so there's a sequence. Let's see if I remember how to do it. Key on, and then that should go on. Should I prime the lift pump first? You wanna see if anything's leaking underneath?
Set ignition.
Oh, I'm scared.
It should prime. Did it not prime?
I didn't hear anything.
Maybe hit the pump.
I'm not hearing it prime. Did we wire those up?
Oh, I see the issue. Calvin said he put the grounds on, but he never put the grounds on.
Whoa, Calvin didn't put the grounds on. Look in the back where we look. Oh, couple grounds left. Thought we were ready. We're not ready yet. Okay, here we go. Round 2. There it is. You want to check under the...
Yeah, leaking in front.
Thanks, John. I believe you. This is why we're checking.
I see a dripping back there, like the filter is loose.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Yep, fitting's loose. Okay, off again it goes. Tighten it back up. I'm more scared about one of those lines in the back that looks kinked. We'll have to keep an eye on that. All right, you want to get your eye on that fitting? I don't trust you. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, you want to crank?
No, just hit do it. Fuel pump again. You're not big on leak? Big leak.
Where's it coming from?
The back. Trunk fuel pump.
Oh boy, where's it going? I'll just go up with a lift, we'll watch it.
That hose that was messed up.
No way, is it really? There was a hose in the back that looked like it got kinked. I see a big puddle on the ground, but I haven't. Where is it leaking from? Okay, yes, here.
all kinked too.
Oh. I know, we noticed that, we knew that that one was kinked.
You know what this means?
But I didn't think it was gonna
We might
leak.
be able to start the FD before them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now you will.
What's that smoke up front?
Stop it.
No, you see it?
Oh, there is smoke up here.
What is that?
Oh, it's marked. Yeah, right there. I could see it.
Somebody could have.
Oh, it's yeah, it's busted.
All right, it's now the next morning, and because all of these are high pressure lines, fuel lines and clutch lines, we can't make these in-house because we don't have a crimp machine. So gonna go down, get some lines made. I'm gonna try to get a rush order on this, but this is going to be our stopping point for the Mustang because we can't start the car without these lines.